It has been a disastrous week for Manchester United. And nothing to do with the on-the-field activities. Losing to Arsenal was painful. Having that goal taken away by VAR hurt. But that pales into insignificance when you look at problems with Sancho, signing another injured player, the scenario in inviting a convicted sex offender as a guest of honor to a game. And now a second and a third woman has come out in the allegations and the case against Antony. The club have got to get a grip of this. The club have got to get hold of this. The lack of communication, I believe, is a huge negative on the football club. It almost appears that we've been caught out or caught off guard relating to this situation. Now, here it claims that the case against Antony isn't the first accusation made against him. This is the first piece of news that came out yesterday. A police report from May 2022, so that is before he joined Manchester United, also describes violent behavior from Antony. The victim claims to be physically assaulted by Antony and a woman in a car in Sao Paulo. She was admitted to hospital with body injuries and had her examinations taken by the civil police. So before Man United purchased the player, there was an accusation that has gone out against him. And I think Rachel Riley, and I know Rachel Riley isn't everybody's cup of tea for one reason or another, which we don't need to go into on here, but she said something the other day which resonated with me, which is, where is the due diligence? And I spoke about this many times before when it comes to Manchester United. They have the money and the resource to do background checks into people that the general working person like you and I doesn't have, whether it be private investigators, whether it be connections within the industry. You've got to do it. And we'll delve into that a little bit more in a moment. There's now a third woman who has now showed up accusing Antony of physical assault, and we'll do a TV interview on Sunday evening to discuss this. So there is his ex-girlfriend and two additional women that are making identical claims, one of which is going to do a TV interview. Now, I understand the position of innocent until proven guilty. I totally understand that. But as Antony has now been named, TV interviews being done, pictures being revealed, the club must act accordingly until that innocence is proven, if he indeed is innocent. Man United declined to comment on the new charges against Antony. The club have been advised to proceed with caution as investigations ongoing in Brazil and the UK. And the presumption of innocence remains an important principle in both jurisdictions. And I understand that. And I think that you don't have to say that he's guilty. But I do believe now that this has become so public, the club need to suspend him from playing, from being in the public domain, until the investigation is complete. And if we just look at this for a moment from the club's point of view, we need to be doing our own due diligence, our own investigation, and acting accordingly. We saw once upon a time when Adam Johnson's case was in the public and he continued playing only to be found guilty, and the shame that brought upon Sunderland. And no disrespect to Sunderland, the size of Manchester United compared to Sunderland it's like comparing Las Vegas's lights to a flea lighting his fart. That's the difference in size and scale and grandeur. The Man United need to act, as far as I'm concerned. There does need to be a statement. You don't need to condemn him. You can very simply state that the player is innocent until proven guilty. We are going to cooperate with investigations. We are going to support the player, and we're going to support any potential the alleged victims in this process as well. And the way in which we're going to do that is our own investigation, and we're going to be taking Antony out of the public domain and light until such a time that his innocence is proven, or vice versa. The club need to act. The club need to do something here. I am not assuming Antony is guilty. That isn't the point of what I'm saying here. The club needs to get its due diligence right. The fact that there is now 3 accusations against him tells me the club didn't do its background checks properly. Just didn't. Because some of these reports were made before we signed him. So there would have been a footprint, a digital footprint of these accusations. Now, the player could be completely innocent here. And maybe the club did do its background checks. Maybe the club did do, so listen, he got arrested for this, he got arrested for that, and he didn't do it. There are people, there are celebrities, there are football players who have been accused of things that they didn't do. Totally and utterly understand that. But I don't have faith in Man United to have done their background checks properly to be ready for this. If they knew these claims existed but were false because they were proven false and they'd done their due diligence, I just don't think we'd have been caught cold, flat-footed on the jaw the way we have. So it tells me there's been no due diligence. Or we knew about this stuff, we believe it may be true, but we've covered it up. Again, I smell a rat. And the story surrounding having the convicted child sex offender at the club is why I don't believe we've done our due diligence. For years, I've believed that we haven't done our due diligence as a club. There's a really famous film called Draft Day with Kevin Costner. And I want to use this as an example. There was on the draft day, everybody assumed they were going to pick this star college quarterback that every single franchise in the film wanted. And this element was based on a true story. I've never been able to work out who it was based on. But essentially, the general manager doesn't bid for him and et cetera, et cetera. And in the end, they asked him why. And they said, well, there was a police report filed against him on his 21st birthday. And the first reaction was, yeah, but so many like college footballers have police called to their parties. It's not a weird thing. That's not the reason not to have him there. And Kevin Costner's character, the general manager, said that wasn't why I didn't want him. The police report that I managed to get through a private investigator gave the list of all the people that attended his 21st birthday party. And not one member of his college football team went to his 21st birthday party, which told me there was an issue with his character. And I saw that film and I read about the film because I do that. I will see something in a movie or a show that's based on real life, and then I do my research into it. And that's always stood strong with me. That's the kind of due diligence I want my club to do, to find out things about players that have nothing to do with their technical ability, their first touch, their stamina, their injury record, to do with their personality and character. What have they been in trouble for? How loyal are they to their friends? What are their family like? How are they in training? This needs to be done, in my personal opinion, at a football club the size of Manchester United. And I believe it's an area that's been lacking for over a decade. Whether it be signing the wrong profile of player that doesn't fit what the manager wants, whether it's bringing in the wrong type of manager with the wrong attitude or who reacts in a particular way to adversity that isn't good for the group of players we have, stylistically to what the fans want, whether it be signing players that don't really want to be here and it's just for money, all these elements the club has let us down on. And I think they're all connected. But what we're now moving into is real emotive, potentially criminal elements of this club that's being overlooked. The situation with Mason Greenwood, I don't just believe happened out of the blue. It may have been an escalation to that point. We've seen some of the other leaked videos of this kid before. But when you look back on now with hindsight, you think, God, there's some red flags there, wasn't there? But it isn't really our job as fans to see this or talk about it because we ain't privy to seeing these people every day. That is the club's job. And I don't believe in this, what goes on behind closed doors is nothing to do with Manchester United. I disagree. I think our clubs have the resource, infrastructure, and power to be able to keep a close eye on their staff, on their players, to ensure that, again, if there's false accusations against them, we're ready to go, boom. Yeah, we knew about these false accusations. These investigations were done. We stand by the player because of X, Y, and Z. In fact, you'd probably find it wouldn't even make it into the media because the media would go to Man United and they'd release it. They go, boom, 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 boom. We're ready. If we're being caught cold, doesn't mean Antony's guilty. But if we're being caught cold and have no idea about this, what is the club doing behind the scenes? I said yesterday, and I stand by it, this club is no longer a reflection of me in terms of how it's run. I'm embarrassed about the way it's run. And the fact now that this story is escalating, Man United are declining to comment, I feel very sick about it. I feel very, very sick about it indeed. But as ever, look, I want your opinions. I want to understand what you think, what you feel surrounding this scenario. But it's another day that casts a further cloud and darkness over Manchester United. It truly does. See you later, people. Take